very good evening to you. It is the 2nd of January 2019. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. These are the top stories on NTV tonight. Tonight, it's back to school tomorrow.
The strike notice is illegal because at all material times the parties were in negotiation and the parties have not exhausted the negotiations.
Court orders teachers to report to school as it also bars TSC from some transfers. Also tonight,
the Commission has continuously demonstrated its commitment to industrial harmony.
Strike at your own risk. TSC accuses NUT leadership of selfishness and abuse of children's rights. Plus,
no decision can be made by management, the Director General and the staff working under him or her without approval of the NYS Council.
How the new NYS law seeks to close the milk taps of the corruption cash cow. And where justice is seen as delayed, elusive or non-existent.
Our policemen will not feel the pain of our youths getting killed because it is not them who are getting killed. It is us.
Heartbreaking tales and truths of police brutality.
NTV Tonight with Smriti Vidyarthi.
Thanks for joining us. Tonight, our sign language interpreter is Flora Atieno. The Kilimani OCPD, Michael Mushiri, has committed to an advocate for the transfer of officers who have stayed for long periods of time. I beg your pardon, let's take you to the story about the Kilimani OCPD, Michael Mushiri, has committed to advocate for the transfer of officers who have stayed for a long period of time in the stations under his jurisdiction. Now, residents expressed their deepest frustrations and calls for justice in extrajudicial killings during a community conversation held in Kibra. The forum brought together members of the human rights groups, residents, security and administrative officers. Charity Mwangi reports on the calls for justice and promises of the same.
A march born of heavy hearts and hurting ones at that. Demonstrations on the killing of Leeds University student Carlton Minor in a manner that is familiar to the Kibra community. Procession decrying how the police had been dealing with the youth in Kibra was to end at Vigilance House but was quickly cut short. That was last year. Now the residents have chosen a different approach, a sit-down bringing together a wounded community and their perceived opponents, the police. The presence of Carlton's mother sparks an emotional reaction, one that indicates that the wounds may only heal when justice is served for those killed by police in mysterious circumstances.
Liberation starts with the one who feels the pain. Our policemen will not feel the pain of our youths getting killed because it is not them who are getting killed.
These people, they know the people who kill, yet they cover up for them.
On the receiving end were officers who appeared receptive but seemingly prepared for anything. Their tailored responses sought to call for calm and patience for justice.
Tuwezi tuka self audit. Yeah? Unaweza set mtihani yako mwenyewe na umark. Inawezekana? We cannot and will not. Independent Police Oversight Authority ichukue hilo jambo.
The community called on the police service to allow suspected criminals to go through due process as opposed to shooting them on suspicion, as was the case of the officer who shot dead 23-year-old Carlton Minor.
What alternative do I have?
Certain police officers who have served in the area for long have been accused of viewing and treating the residents unreasonably.
Any person that have stayed here, yule ambaye kabisa overstay hapa, tutapata hiyo majina.
The residents have on a number of occasions failed to report some incidences to the police. They say they have dwindling faith in the officers.
I have lost 2 cases kwa DC. Nikiambiwa a 12-year-old girl cannot be raped. Alijipeleka mwenyewe. What is that?
Civil society groups have been busy in the area, but their impact is being called out.
Hakuna venye leo utakuwa na organization 1000 za Kibra zinafaa kusaidia mtu wa Kibra, then 90% ni mtu anatoka Koma, anatoka Madhare.
With the ongoing investigation into the death of Leeds University student Carlington Minor, this community hopes that his death is the last of such incidences and that justice will not only be done but also will be seen to be done. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
And in Mombasa County, police are on the spot over the alleged extrajudicial killing of a 23-year-old boy at Kidogo Basi area on New Year's Day. According to eyewitnesses, about 14 plain-clothed officers ambushed Shafi Salim, who was shot 3 times outside his business premise at a PlayStation shop. Hashim Fumo, an uncle to the deceased, said that they are still shocked and are trying to come to terms with the killing. A Muslims for Human Rights Rapid Response officer said that the motive of the shooting is still a mystery and they want answers. The late Shafi's body was taken to the Coast Provincial General Hospital mortuary.
Wake kulitulia watoto wadogo watoto miaka 25 kama walokufa mwanangu tu miaka 20. Leo mkae mkitulia watoto ni haki jamani. Basi tuweni na sisi mama zao pia. Tumechoka na serikali hii, tumechoka.
Let's hope that justice is served. Elsewhere, and it is official, it's back to school tomorrow. This is according to the High Court ruling that teachers should report to duty tomorrow as schools open for the first term. While much as the Kenya National Union of Teachers and the Teachers Service Commission were pulling in opposite directions, each of them took home a win in the ruling. Sharon Baranga was at Milimani, where she witnessed the battle in the courtroom.
The battle over the looming teacher strike between the Kenya National Union of Teachers and the Teachers Service Commission was to be settled at the Milimani Law Courts. And after hours, Justice Bairam Ongaya made a ruling that was a win for TSC.
With the effect that the respondent, by itself, its officials, members, agents, or any other person acting in that behalf, is hereby restrained from implementing such strike notice or strike, and the strike as scheduled effective 2nd January 2019 or any date thereafter, as the case may be in that regard.
NAT, however, wanted the school's opening day moved to the 7th of January.
If it wasn't for your lordship's orders restraining the strike, there would have been no school reopening tomorrow, Friday, Monday, or any day, because the teachers of this country would have exercised their constitutional right. They had already called a strike. So this request that they are making is to make it orderly.
Let your orders flow from the capital city of Nairobi to West Pokot this afternoon. And now, they take effect immediately. We cannot go to NAT House and discuss how to talk to our branches. The branches can be talked to through SMS. The branches can be talked to through WhatsApp. The branches can be mobilized through email.
That notwithstanding, NAT also had a win in its leaders' fight to block some transfers.
The union officials will be transferable within the geographic limits of the branch they are elected to serve, and the present transfer decisions outside such geographic limits are liable to being set aside.
The two parties have been embroiled in a back and forth since December, which resulted in NAT issuing a strike notice. The case will be mentioned on 17th January 2018. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
And NAT is set to comply with the terms of today's court ruling. Well, as the court made its ruling on the status of the strike, the Teachers Service Commission accused the Kenya National Union of Teachers of being selfish. The TSC says that the strike notice given by the union is in bad faith and against the olive branch that the commission had extended to teachers. The TSC has further warned the teachers of consequences should they participate in a strike, adding that it will take a roll call of all teachers when schools open tomorrow.
With just a few hours before students resume learning tomorrow, teachers' employer, the Teachers Service Commission, has come out to defend its opposition of the planned strike. TSC says that some of the demands by the teachers' union were against the law and the policy guiding the profession. Those who participate in the strike stand warned of losing their jobs.
The TSC board who are here has thus directed the CEO, Dr. Nancy Macharia, to immediately activate the necessary mechanisms to engage teachers in its database where they may be needed.
TSC has accused the Kenya National Union of Teachers' leadership of pushing selfish agenda, as it also unduly uses students as bait in the ongoing battle.
Once again, a time has come for us to stop anybody from using Kenyan children as human shield. That time is now.
NAT stands accused of jeopardizing earlier efforts to end the strike, even after agreements for a return to work had been signed and which TSC says it is implementing.
The Commission does not therefore contemplate a situation where learners will go without a teacher for even the shortest duration of time. The Commission does not also consider premature closure of schools as an option.
The statement by the TSC, in addition to the court's order against the strike, come as a relief to parents and learners. However, concerns remain on the issues that have been raised on the alleged inward-looking approach by the union leadership and the eventual ripple effect on the learners. Silas Apollo, NTV.
And the government has announced that the new curriculum will be rolled out tomorrow. Education Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed has said that the competency-based curriculum will begin in pre-primary 1 and 2 as well as grades 1, 2 and 3. We'll bring you more on that story in just a moment. But first, the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union Nyanza branch has threatened to paralyze the services at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital if security for medics is not given priority at the institution. The doctors protested the attack on one of their own a week back and demanded protection from their employer. Meanwhile, a nurse was attacked and injured by a patient on Tuesday at the Nairobi South Hospital here in Nairobi.
Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital is the latest health facility to experience attacks on medical personnel. Doctors have threatened to down their tools at the health facility if their safety is not guaranteed. This comes after one of their own was attacked and injured by a person who had accompanied an accident victim to the facility.
If there is any healthcare workers who is going to be assaulted, whether it's a nurse, whether it's a clinic officer, lab technologist or anyone, will come strongly. All the unions will come out strongly and condemn this act.
The union has demanded the security of medics countrywide as they execute their duties. In Nairobi, a nurse, Pauline Moraya, was allegedly attacked by parents of a patient at the Nairobi South Hospital on Tuesday. Her case is the latest incident of violence on medics. It is alleged that the assailants had attempted to leave the hospital without clearing the bills at the facility, and efforts by the nurse to intervene led to the melee. On his Twitter page, KMPDU National Secretary General Dr. Omo Luga condemned the attack, saying those in the field will be forced to start taking legal action. 2 months ago, a nurse was attacked by a patient at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
All right, let's take you back to that story about the new curriculum, and the government has announced that it will be rolled out tomorrow. Education Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed has said that the new competency-based curriculum will begin in pre-primary 1 and 2 as well as grades 1, 2 and 3. NTV's Lillian Carrier attended a meeting at the Education Ministry and has more.
Confusion, anxiety and uncertainty have marked the implementation of the new competency-based curriculum. One moment this.
The national rollout will take place in January 2020.
And another moment this.
Mimi nataka kuomba msamaha kwa sababu ya confusion ambayo serikali yenyewe imeleta. Curriculum tutaendelea naye.
And today, the back-to-school announcement marred with a looming teacher strike was met with this directive.
The delivery of the CBC will officially commence countrywide starting tomorrow in PP1, PP2, grades 1 to 3.
The Cabinet Secretary issued a circular today instructing top education officials to ensure that the rollout of the CBC is smooth and that core textbooks reach all public primary schools.
There shall be 5 lessons in pre-primary and 7 lessons in lower primary per day.
Even with a green light, activist Okiom Tata has filed an application in the High Court seeking to stop the rollout of the 26333 curriculum. In his application under a certificate of urgency, Omtata says that the competency-based curriculum is being rushed and rolled out without public participation. He also argues that there is no legal, policy and regulatory framework governing the implementation of the CBC. But the uncertainty looming over what will transpire tomorrow has not deterred parents who have been busy shopping for the new term. Parents flocked to bookshops, shops selling school uniforms, shoes and stationery. Some parents have already paid school fees, confident that the schools will resume tomorrow.
Sisi wazazi tumejipanga, tunapeleka watoto shule na wakati wa kuanzia, that is sasa hiyo walifanya strike watatuumiza.
The next few days will be quite interesting to watch, with a competency-based curriculum in primary expected to start from tomorrow, and on the other hand, a looming teacher strike is in the offing. And with the government's retaliation that learning must continue, this academic year already seems to have started off with some challenges. Lillian Kiarie, NTV.
Well, it will indeed be interesting, and of course good luck to all learners and teachers as well as the new term begins tomorrow. Now, 30-year-old Collins Ochieng, who had been charged with obstructing the presidential motorcade along Mamangina on the 30th of December, has been released. Ochieng, an artist, positioned himself along the road leading to State House, displaying a placard containing the portrait of Mr. Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga. It read, "The Golden Handshake, Amani, Umoja, Upendo na Ushirikiani." The president's security detail, though, roughed Ochieng up, bundled him in a police vehicle and escorted him to the police station. Well, he pleaded guilty to the obstruction charge, saying that he wanted the president to sympathize with his situation.
Sina kazi, nasitaki mambo ya kuangaika kuiba vitu za watu, kudanganya watu ama kuomba watu pesa. Kwa sababu I'm still very energetic, and what I need a job so that I can sustain myself plus all family members.
All right, at this point it's time to take a quick break on NTV Tonight, but there is plenty more when we return. country's disciplined forces or government agencies must be trained in the National Youth Service. This is a provision in the National Youth Service Act 2018 that was recently passed into law by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The NYS is now officially a corporate entity whose accounting officer is no longer the Youth PS, but the Director General. Mel Miendo with details of this new law that is set to come into effect on the 15th of January 2019.
On the last day of 2018, President Uhuru Kenyatta assented into law 7 bills, one of which was the National Youth Service Act 2018. Significant changes are set to be made in the operations of the National Youth Service, including the appointment of an 11-member council appointed to serve as an oversight team. The NYS law is set to become operational after gazettement on the 15th of January 2019, upon which regulations which include the nature of commercial activities will be formed. The President and the Youth and Gender Affairs Cabinet Secretary will appoint members of the NYS Council. The Council will nominate the Director General, who will serve for 6 years. The National Youth Service has been considered a cash cow for corruption. Drafters of the new NYS law agreed that there was a lack of confidence in the system, which was primarily meant to uplift the country's youth.
We've trained thousands of youth in this country. They are very disillusioned. When you tell them to go to NYS, they tell you what happens afterwards. Now, in the new law, we've made a provision.
All youth seeking employment in disciplined forces or government agencies are to be trained at the NYS. Prescribing the criteria of absorption will be part of the functions of the 11-member council. The council comprises of a non-executive chairperson who will be appointed by the President, principal secretaries of the National Treasury, Youth and Gender Affairs as well as Interior, the Attorney General, the Chief of the Defence Forces, and 5 other members who will be appointed by the Cabinet Secretary of Youth and Gender, 2 of whom must be youth of either gender.
With a mixture of private sector personnel and public sector at the top of NYS, giving instructions to the management headed by the Director General. We are going to do away with a lot of pilferages which have been happening in areas before because of lack of proper oversight.
The new NYS Act shifts the role of accounting officer from the Youth PS to the Director General.
As accounting officer, you must follow the provisions of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. And they are very stringent. To be an accounting officer is not something to laugh about. No decision can be made by management, the Director General and the staff working under him or her without approval of the NYS Council.
As the service changes from a ministerial department to a corporate entity, all commercial activities must only be related to the national government and not the counties.
Anyone or any institution can hire NYS, the machineries it has, the buses it has, everything, all right, to do something for them. And then you pay NYS, and NYS is able to retain that money. The council has to approve those commercial activities. At the same time, those commercial activities must be subject to the 4th schedule to the Constitution.
It took about 4 months for a multi-sectoral team to come up with a draft of the new NYS Act 2018. Billions of shillings have been in question, pitting the top management, including principal secretaries in the Ministry of Youth and Gender Affairs, Lilian Bogo Omolo, and her predecessor, Peter Mangiti, also Director Generals Nelson Githinji and Richard Ndubai, who have been charged in court. Kenyans hope that with this new act, it will bring sanity back into the NYS system. Mel Miendo, NTV.
All right, well, let's wait and see. Elsewhere now, the recent increase in cases of attacks on local administration officers, such as chiefs and their assistants, has sent fear among the office holders. Some are now calling for enhanced security of the administrators, including arming them. Gabriel Kudaka visited a victim of such attacks who shares the picture of the reality they live in.
John Cheseret and his wife pick up pieces of what remained of their store following an arson attack on December 2nd. An attack whose motive is yet to be known and perpetrators yet to be arrested.
Hujawahi kuwa na mzozo na mtu yeyote, alafu kisa kama hii ikifanyika inaofisha sana.
The incident has blown a cold wind of shivers down the spine of the Cheseret family, raising concerns of local administrators' safety.
I got a big worried, and after some few days, I agreed on what happened.
Despite what befell him on December last year, the assistant chief of this region, Mr. Cheseret, says that will not dampen his spirit of discharging his official government duties.
Haijalishi ile kazi ilifanyika hapa nyumbani, kama story ilichomeka, sisi bado tuko hai. Tutajituma kwa sababu ya kazi.
The family is grateful for the support offered by the community after the attack, bearing testimony of the closeness of the administrators to the people they serve. The increasing cases of the administrators being attacked put against the backdrop of the role they play in security at the grassroots is continually raising concern over their very own security and how the system seems to be setting them up as sitting ducks, having moved administration police out of the chief's camps.
Ya chief anatakikana kujihami ili mambo mengine pia na trainiwe kwanza namna ya kujihami wakati wa jambo hili.
The concern remains that the security officials are living in shadows of insecurity. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV.
All right, let's take you to Wajir now. And all health personnel on leave in that county have been recalled to resume work in an effort to combat the measles outbreak. The Wajir Governor Mohammed Abdi directed the move as the outbreak has caused panic in the county. At least 3 deaths and about 140 cases have been reported. As Eunice Omolo reports, medics suspect that the number of people affected could in fact be higher.
Amina Abdi is one of the 2 mothers in Wajir town who have lost their young ones to the measles outbreak in the county. This mother of 5 has lost her last-born daughter, who turned 5 months old on the weekend. Her second last-born son, Mohammed, is also critically sick. Episodes of high fever, vomiting, headaches and a rash all over the body are some of the symptoms. In a nearby village, Farosa Haret lost her last-born child, who had shown similar signs as Amina's children.
I have taken the child to hospital. She was given some medicine, but it did not help.
In a bid to avert further spread of the disease, the Wajir County Governor has ordered all health personnel on leave to resume duty immediately to take part in countermeasures to control the situation.
National government, Ministry of Health, donors such as World Health Organization, UNICEF, and many others to support us.
The measles vaccination coverage is about 60% according to hospital records, and medics are worried that most of the affected children fall under the 40% who did not receive the jab. Parents and educationists are worried that the measles outbreak might affect the return to school due to the highly contagious nature of the disease. Eunice Omolo, NTV.
It is 1/2 the hour. Time for a break on NTV Tonight. Don't go far. The 6 billion shilling irrigation project is wasting away in Homa Bay County at a time Kenya is suffering food deficit due to low agricultural production. The Oluch Kimira smallholder farm irrigation project was to turn Karachuonyo and Rangwe sub-counties, often hit by adverse dry weather conditions, into the region's breadbasket. However, spot check by NTV shows the project is underutilized and only a handful of farmers use the waters to irrigate their farms, while the rest use it for domestic purposes. Bernard Ojwang takes us to the project in Homa Bay.
This is Nyangweso area, Karachuonyo, Homa Bay County, the home to residents who for years have relied on food supplies from the neighboring counties such as Nyamira and Kisii. The supplies include vegetables, onions, potatoes, tomatoes, and even maize. The poor supply has been due to poor yields attributed to the unpredictable weather in the region. The 6 billion shillings Oluch Kimira irrigation scheme was launched amid celebration by farmers who had been irrigating their farms manually. However, they later gave up due to lack of irrigation equipment, with the exception of a few.
They are now turned into grazing fields instead of turning them into farms.
The project was to turn the fortunes of Karachuonyo and Rangwe sub-counties, which often hit by adverse dry weather conditions.
It is time the Kimira Luch is completed. It is almost running to 20 years just to have Kimira Luch where it is, not complete.
Locals say the project had the potential to produce hundreds of tons of maize, rice, vegetables and other horticultural crops, but now the water meant for irrigating farms is being used for domestic purposes.
I am requesting the government through the COSFIP that they can put excavator to open for us the channels and the canals.
Little crop production is going on as farmers still depend on rain-fed agriculture in spite of getting irrigation water. They accuse the Ministry of Agriculture for failing to deploy extension officers to guide them. Well, when this initiative was launched here, 6 billion shilling project, many people had a lot of expectations. One being improving the economy of this county and also improving their living standards through agriculture. And now that dream has been dwarfed completely, blaming it on the laxity of the government through the ministry concerned. Bernard Ojwang, NTV.
All right, to politics now, and the Luhya land politics refused to die down. Sports Cabinet Secretary Rashid Echesa has reiterated that ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi should be investigated for corruption over an alleged 380 million shilling illegitimate payment at Mumias Sugar. Mudavadi, when asked for a response, shut it down as nonsense. Well, Ford Kenya Deputy Party Leader Bonnie Khalwale has also hit at COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli, who had criticized him for supporting ODM leader Raila Odinga.
Vile mmesikia mheshimiwa ndugu yetu Atwoli akiambia mheshimiwa Wetangula kwamba hebu muondoe Khalwale kwa Ford Kenya kwa sababu anafanya urafiki na Ruto. Ningependa kumwambia ndugu zangu wa Luhya kwamba Atwoli ndio chief agent, chief campaigner wa Raila Odinga. Kama Atwoli anataka mimi nifukuzwe kwa chama yetu ya Ford Kenya kwa sababu mimi nimefanya urafiki na mheshimiwa Ruto, basi tena aambie ODM ifukuze Raila kwa sababu Raila amefanya urafiki na Uhuru.
Nimeambia DPP na nimeambia DCI ya kwamba wakuje Mumias Sugar wa investigate First Assurance Company. Musali akuja ambie wakulima wa miwa wale walikuwa wanapeleka Mumias Sugar Company, aseme yeye alilipwa kama nani 380 million Kenya shillings.
Honestly, that is absolute nonsense. There's nothing to say to that. I won't respond to nonsense.
All right, do what you need to do in this break, but do join us in a few minutes. We'll be back.
OneXBet.
Hundreds of tourists visiting Watamu have rated the resort town as the best destination in Kenya for its pristine white sandy beaches. A spot check along the 25-kilometer beach along the Watamu Marine National Park showed both local and international tourists flocking in large numbers for the New Year holidays. Well, in recent times, the coastal town has been overshadowed by Malindi in tourist attraction sites, but business is now expected to remain high at least until April 2019.
Business is booming in Watamu as local and international tourists enjoy the New Year holidays. Both investors and tourists in Watamu say the town is a perfect holiday destination for those keen on luxury and comfort away from their homes.
Until a few years ago, the tourism, Kenya tourism everybody, most of them go to Nyali, to Mombasa, and don't come to Watamu. Now with this event, I hope that the people from Nairobi, Nakuru, Kisumu, Mombasa know that exists in Watamu.
This is one of the best places I have ever seen. The beach is amazing and the environment is wonderful. You can enjoy also low tide and high tide, and the panorama is really wonderful.
Although Watamu has not been very popular with tourists as other coastal towns, the rates have skyrocketed as hotel managements recorded 150 tourists per week in December, spilling into the new year.
Everything here is pole-pole, everything is relaxed. Trip to Africa really changes your point of view on the world, seriously, because how we live, what we complain about when we are home, just the trip from the airport Mombasa to Watamu makes you realize things that you don't really get to see in our home countries.
The yet-to-be-completed Malindi Airport is expected to boost the economy, with more tourists expected from new markets such as Bangkok. Melmiendo, NTV.
All right, when we come back from the break, Ida Waringa is standing by. She'll have the sports lineup ready for you.
has signed for Kenyan Premier League outfit Gor Mahia on a 2-year deal. Oliech, also known as Kajole, put pen to paper earlier today before being unveiled by club chairman Ambrose Wajir. The legendary striker will compete for a starting berth in a star-studded team that already has Rwandi's Jacques Tuyisenge, Ivorian Ephraim Gwikan, and Ugandan international Erisa Sekisambu. Oliech, who last played in the KPL over a decade ago, may be in action when Kogalo take on Mathare United on Sunday at Kasarani. Perhaps buoyed by the signing of Dennis Oliech, Gor Mahia got their 2019 off to a winning start, beating Chemelil Sugar 2-0 as 18 goals were scored in 9 Kenyan Premier League matches. Goals from Nicholas Kipkirui and Boniface Omondi ensured the win that moves Kogalo to 9th on the table. Mathare United stayed top with a 2-1 win over newly promoted KCB, while second-placed Western Steamer kept their place despite drawing 1-1 with Sofapaka. Tusker, who saw off Vihiga 2-0, climbed to 3rd. This as Mount Kenya United got their first point of the season after 4 consecutive losses when they held Kariobangi Sharks to a 1-1 draw. In other results, Zukericho played out to a barren draw with Bandari. John Kamau's reign at Posta Rangers started with a 2-0 loss to AFC Leopards. Nzoia Sugar beat Ulinzi 2-0, while Sony Sugar edged Kakamega Homeboys 2-1.
First half, we felt a little bit comfortable. They keep the ball more, no urgency. Second half, we talk inside the halftime in changing room, and they did what I said.
Move on. The Indian Ocean Shores in Kilifi County played host to the 2nd edition of the Kilifi Dhow Race. The 6th edition of the annual Kalamba Sports Festival was held in Makueni County, while Genesis FC from Ngando Ward scooped the annual Dagoretti Super Cup here in Nairobi. Let's go around the country in our local sports roundup.
For the 2nd consecutive year, the Kilifi County government ushered in the new year with the Kilifi Dhow Race. The competition included dhows, canoes and swimming in both senior and junior swimmers categories. Saidi Kigogo won the Dhow Race and was awarded 10,000 shillings. There were also cash rewards in the canoe and swimming categories.
Gala Festival litakuwa mojawapo ya juhudi za county government ya Kilifi ili kuimarisha vivutio katika ufuo.
Every end of the year for the past 6 years, the Kalamba Sports Festival has been held in Makueni County. The aim of the festival, whose patron is Kenya Volleyball Federation 2nd Vice Chairman David Kilundo, is to empower the youth by giving them a platform to showcase their talent. In volleyball action, Malex Nairobi beat Malex Makueni 3-2. In handball, Wote Queens and Ngumbo Ladies were the top teams. There was also athletics action with junior and senior athletes taking part in the 6-kilometer as well as 10-kilometer races.
What we know is that we have not to kill our talents, we have to make them grow.
Among those who graced the festival was KVF Technical Director David Lungaho. Sponsor Boniface Kiundi, who made a grand entrance in a chopper, gave 50,000 shillings as well as sporting equipment. Genesis FC from Gando Ward emerged the winners of the Dagoretti South Super Cup football tournament after they beat Reruta Yasets 4-3 in post-match penalties. For their efforts, they banked 80,000 shillings, courtesy of sponsor and area MP John Kiarie. In the ladies' final, Soccer Sisters beat Joy Love 4-3, also on post-match penalties. And finally, Total Disaster from South C Ward beat Experience Susa from neighboring South B to be crowned champions of the South C annual football tournament. The month-long tournament is an initiative of South C MCA Osman Khalif.
Kama singeka tournament, na believe wangaionekana. So I'm giving them that platform of showcasing their talent, and if the coaches ama kuna agents ambao wanaweza kuja waone, why not waweze kucheza mpira yao.
To the international scene now, where Chelsea have signed Borussia Dortmund forward Christian Pulisic for 64 million euros, but will loan him back to the German club until the end of the season. The 20-year-old, who moved to Germany as a teenager from the USA and who has made more than 80 appearances for Dortmund, admitted in November that he hoped to play in the English. November when she won the New York City Marathon for the 4th time in a time of 2 hours, 22 minutes and 48 seconds. Ketanyi is the second woman to win the marathon in the Big Apple 4 times.
36-year-old Mary Ketanyi is headed for the finish line and victory in this New York City Marathon, the 48th running of this event.
She was patient, and now the second half she has destroyed this field, Larry.
The #1 marathoner in the world last year is #1 again this year on the streets of New York, winning the TCS New York City Marathon. That was a wow. As she hugs Gianni Di Madonna, her agent, and her family.
Such a smart performance, so patient early on, and then so fast over the second half.
The second fastest time ever run in New York, unofficially 2 hours, 22 minutes, and 52 seconds. She terrorized this course in the second half. Stunning.
From Kenya, Mary Ketanyi.
Fantastic achievement there. That does it for sports. I'm Ida Waringa. Back to you, Smriti.
Ida, thanks very much indeed. Well, that does it for all of us right here at NTV. Thanks for your company. More from us tomorrow. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. And thanks to Flora Atieno, our sign language interpreter. Bye-bye.